Hi everyone and welcome to my podcast. I'm Sangeetaangelakumar and today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be also filming a video version of this. So hello my YouTubers and my YouTube friends and hello my podcast friends. I have a mic down there. So today's episode is actually it's a very difficult episode to do because I got into digital art mostly because I wanted to save money because doing art is an expensive hobby. It's super, super expensive to buy paper all the time and um, paints. And, like I love art, but one of the biggest reasons I didn't pursue it full time was because it's expensive. And today, like initially it was all really hunky dory, but today kind of was a realization, and that's kind of also why I'm doing this on podcast and on video because I think it's really important to address this. Now, in 2020, I mean, a lot of you would have followed my story where I started drawing on the iPad using the Apple Pencil. We had a budget iPad. I'm not super rich, but the fact is that we invested and, we thought it'll be fun. It wasn't about Procreate. It was just about having the iPad and using the Apple Pencil and all. I fell in love with this app. It's a fantastic app. No complaints about this. But it started slowly. Like all the tutorials that were there on the internet were always by these really brilliant artists who were sharing a lot of their like I was very public about how appreciative I was about how artists are so good at sharing their knowledge. And I think if I have even 20% of great art in me, it is because of the generous artists around us, right? So, but eventually, slowly, it started creeping in that these artists started plugging their Procreate brushes. Okay, so I don't want to say names, but I'm going to have to because otherwise you won't understand what I'm talking about. So, one of the main people, like when you begin Procreate, you are bombarded by the algorithm and you're shown people like Lisa Bardot, Lisa Glanz, Gal Shear. Now, what I experienced with these artists were a lot of generosity, especially Lisa Glanz was very generous with her advice and her drawing tips. And then Galshier also, he may not have been very generous with his words and in his tutorials. He generally just shows you what he's doing. And but I remember in my one-on-one interaction with a lot of them, like Lisa, I remember not struggling with some brushes, and she said, oh, I create brushes so people can kind of manipulate the brushes themselves and learn how to do it. So it was always, at least what I thought was, it was always about empowering the newbie or empowering the artist. And I remember Galshire, I bought his sets, and these aren't cheap, huh? I mean, maybe if you're super rich, it'll be really cheap. But they're like one brush set would be like 2,000, 2,500, 1,500. Cheap ones would be 1,500. Not cheap as in quality. Quality is excellent, but very expensive ones would go up to 4,000, 5,000. So I mean, it's great, but like I'm not earning any money from my art, like. And no matter how much I invested in my art, it never gave me that yield back. But it wasn't about that. I mean, art was a hobby for me. I really enjoyed it. It was my therapy. And so the more I started getting into art, the more I wanted to experiment, the more I wanted to do more. Now I remember Galshir has this fantastic. He has amazing things. Okay, like please check out his stuff because I love his product line. So Galshir had a pen which I really liked, and I remember. And I'm giving you the good news first, and then I'll break the bad news to you. So Galshir had a pen, and I really liked it. It was like a Sharpie pen brush, but it wasn't in any of his sets. And I bought like all of his sets, but I couldn't find it. Then finally, I emailed him and I said, "Hey, is there a link that I can buy this pen separately? Because I've got your sets, but I can't find it anywhere." Immediately, and I'm not kidding, immediately, not only did he give me the pen that I wanted, but he also gave me some extra palettes and extra stuff. And what I felt with him was encouraged, and like it wasn't really about the money, it was just about encouraging and creating. And I will tell you that I was more likely to go back to him, and I did go back and get Pose. I didn't get the other one because it wasn't really what I wanted, but Pose I definitely got. And so if you go on the internet, you'll see that, like, how movies and music were, like, you have these big companies selling movies and music, and then comes the world of piracy, where all these small sites either sell these brushes for lesser or they give it for free. So I whenever I would search for a brush, I would come across these sites as well. So I remember, as a policy, I was like, no, like, I don't want to buy from these sites. I don't want to get these brushes from these sites, because I had such a good experience with Galshir that I was like, these artists are super, like, they have so much integrity and it's really good. So, one of the first sellers in the market when you go into Procreate and digital assets, like, even if you want to do Photoshop or Illustrator or any, like, Affinity, whatever, Creative Market and Design Cuts are the two big giants that kind of. Creative Market isn't, I don't know if it's so big now, but Design Cuts has become, over years, has really got their market into a really huge market. And that was because they were giving a lot of value in having free classes every week or every fortnight. I don't know how often, but there was always free classes, there was always free value, to the point where YouTube videos started limiting, like, the algorithm wasn't doing as much as what Design Cuts was doing. So I was really impressed with it, and of course they were getting data, they were getting customers, they were getting, and you are also buying stuff from them. So recently, about 6 or 8 months ago, I think, they introduced these courses that you would buy a masterclass, and they were quite expensive. And I was like, okay, maybe this is a unique thing. So I hesitated, but I bought it. Okay. And these classes were so terrible. They were really, like, it was worse than the free classes that I had been doing. So I thought, okay, no, maybe it's a one off. Then again, I bought another. Now I know in this video I'll be sounding like I'm quite a spendthrift, but like, I would budget and I would save and I would, cut corners here and, like, eat out less here, and then, get these. So I remember, I didn't see the value in the courses that were coming. So I was like, okay, what are they doing? And then suddenly I started seeing prices go up. Like, I remember Elena Jensen sending an email saying, I'm going to raise my prices, so please buy my brushes before I raise my prices. And as I've been seeing the trend, um, it has become more about selling you brushes than it is about teaching you value. And it has become more about selling your course than about helping you. And that's, I actually, kind of why I'm doing this, because I feel like you should be warned before you join digital illustration. It's not as cheap as you think it is. And if you want to do certain, like, if you want to just stick to the native brushes, that's perfectly fine. Like, I know plenty of people who don't go crazy with brushes. But if you're like me and you're into, and you're like, you love mixed media, you want to do different things. Like, I did stained glass painting and I did mosaic, and, like, having fun with it, then it becomes a little expensive. And now what's happened is, and the reason, again, the peg of this was, today I got an email from Jeremy Child, who is Artifacts. And I was so happy to get that email, because it said, this paper, a complete set, is now an updated version of this has come. It's Procreate and Affinity. And I was so excited, because I was like, oh, I've been waiting for this version of Procreate. And I think maybe he worded his email wrong, because what it seemed to me, and plus the picture was with the icon of Procreate, Photoshop, and Affinity. So, going by the media photograph, I'm thinking, ooh, this is a brand new update with Procreate and Affinity and Photoshop updates. I went crazy. I went on Design Cuts, which is where I bought this from, and I went and downloaded the 10 GB file, which took me billions of years. But I downloaded it. I looked through it. I couldn't find the Procreate files. I saw the ABR files and I was like, okay, I can't find the Procreate. I can't find Affinity. What's going on? So I looked for a customer care in Design Cuts and it was just not helpful. They had bots and eventually they said, okay, you can email, and it was very difficult. Then I got in touch with Jeremy because I've actually subscribed to his newsletter. So, and we have chatted before when I was looking for like a particular look I wanted for his lino cut Procreate brush. And so I felt like I had a relationship that I could talk to him. So I emailed him and I said, hey, I'm not able to find this. Long story short, it's not like, even though I bought a set called the complete collection of like the paper collection of this, you have to buy the same product 3 times if you want the full set. So they're selling it as a set. So they're selling it as a collection. But now, because of some reason, I don't know what happened, they divided the set in 3 parts, and they are selling Procreate separate, Affinity separate, and Photoshop separate. My file on Design Cuts, which was otherwise called Collection, suddenly the name changed to Collection Photoshop, which it wasn't the name before. So I was like, what is going on? Like, I don't get it. So I thought maybe this is a privileged thing. Maybe this is, so I got in touch with him. I said, I don't understand. Where's the update? And I kept asking him. I'm sure I irritated him a lot. But eventually it came down to the fact that you have to buy. So eventually a $23 set, I have to buy it 3 times, which comes to about $60+ to be able to do the same thing I'd like to do on Affinity, Procreate, and Photoshop. Now, Jeremy Child is super talented. I have most of his brushes, but this experience has left such a bitter taste in my mouth, because I'm like, why do I have to buy 3 separate brush sets? If I have the complete collection, why wasn't it not just adjusted for loyal customers or whatever? And now when I'm seeing the trend in the Procreate world or the digital world, companies like Design Cuts are really milking it. Like, they know that they have this loyal customer base that's not going to ask questions, and they're overpricing. I mean, okay, you would think that, okay, we want to support the artist, so we don't mind paying a little bit. But, like, the same, remember I mentioned the course, that okay course that they introduced with 4 artists. What they did was they divided that 4 course and sold it separately for the same cost, which meant they were taking the profit. So I feel like it's becoming a bit ugly, and it's becoming a little profit, like they're profiting a lot. Like, when I got my first iPhone, I didn't know about in-app purchases. But eventually it started getting really annoying, because I would buy a app and then I would have to pay continuously to keep that app going. Or so it's annoying. It's not like a detriment. Like, I may even buy products from Design Cuts in the future, but I've what it used to be initially when I came into Procreate and understanding digital art, it was more about helping each other and helping people and sharing ideas. And now it's become more of artists earning your money, earning their money through you. And you're the sheep and they're the wolves and they're just taking your money. And I just, I kind of became not an angry Karen, but a sweet Karen, and if there is such a thing, and a bit of a troll. And I told Jeremy Child that I don't think I'm gonna be. This is gonna help me be a loyal customer, because, like, let me give you an example of Calvin. I love Calvin. So Calvin is the opposite of all of this. Now, I've often wondered why Calvin is not in the mainstream with Design Cuts or with Creative Market. He does have his products in Creative Market, but he's not, like, there's this horde mentality that Design Cuts takes, where they favor Nathan and favor Lisa and favor just their collective few. And it was very interesting because I used to always tell my husband, Jeremy Child is so good, his brushes are so good. And I wonder why Design Cuts is always focusing on Lisa and Nathan and Lisa and Nathan all the time, and not focusing on other artists who are like as good. So maybe now they're giving Jeremy attention, and that's why the cost has gone up. Whatever, that's fine. If you believe the artist that you're buying from is worth the money, excellent. But what Calvin does is, like, he's not economical, but I have every single of his products. Why? Because he's so good at customer service. Like, when I had problems, like I had a smaller iPad, and then the paper was too big for me, so immediately I emailed him on Etsy, and I was like, "Hey, Calvin, the paper's too big." Then he said, "Oh, you must have." I didn't know this. I was all new to Procreate, but he told me, "Oh, you must have a smaller iPad. Don't worry, I'll send you a version that is smaller." And he kept doing that until I upgraded to my bigger one. I didn't need the small version anymore. And that customer service was so good. And of course, it's him handling it, and I think his brother. But uh, I was like, I can, if Calvin comes up with another brush, I will just close my eyes and buy it, because I know he's amazing, and that he will give me worth. And he's not. I don't think he is, like, he said something in an email. He said, or an article. He said, I've already made. I had an idea of a number in my head for profit, and I've already made that. So for me now, it's not about profit. It's just about creating and having fun. You know, when you think about an artist that you want to support, that's the kind of artist that you would want to, not a person who's, suddenly is profiting on your needs, or profiting on your desire to learn, or whatever it is. So, anyways, this whole experience left a bitter taste. Now, I've been talking a lot about people, and I cannot stop talking about a person like called Freya. Now, she's a fantastic artist, but she has got it also. Like, she's really smart, and her courses and her brushes are exorbitant. Like, I think her course, when I first was exposed to a course, it was like 80,000 rupees, and I was like, who would do that course? Over time, she started giving discounts and discounts, and recently she sold her course for as low as, I think, 3,000 rupees, which was a shock, because, like, we kept laughing at the fact that she was going from 80 all the way to 30 to 24. So I guess there are people who are crazy enough to pay for this, but my advice would be, if you are venturing into digital art, there is a thing called brush overload. And there is a thing called, like, not called, but a lot of artists, almost 98% of artists, are actually, in the guise of teaching you things, are actually trying to sell their products. Now, if you want to support them, yes, go ahead. Like Tati, go on her Patreon. A lot of artists are on Patreon. You want to support them, support them. But be wise and aware of the amount of money you're going to be spending, and don't be in a rush to buy things without really calculating whether you really need them. Like, I would really like this Procreate brush set that Jeremy has made, but now I'm like, oh, what next? What more do I have to give to get, So I'm also like in two minds whether I should get it, or whether I should not. But all in all, digital art is not cheap. It's not like how I began thinking, oh, I'll save money by getting into digital art. It's expensive. You have to draw on paper, that costs money. Unless you know how to make the paper, courses cost money to do. Domestika is expensive. Skillshare is expensive. If you get like 2 months or 3 months off in Skillshare, that helps, because you can run into all your courses and finish them off. YouTube is free, but again, be careful, because many of these artists are just basically selling their brushes, and they're not selling. They're selling. It's not about value more than it is about selling. So be careful, because don't be fooled by substandard brushes, or brushes that you could make yourself or maybe get for cheaper. Talking about piracy, a lot of Procreate brushes are being pirated. I am very ashamed to say that I discovered that my my Skillshare course was on a pirated site. Somebody sent me the link, and I wasn't upset. I was actually really happy because for me, being pirated is like the biggest compliment. So I'm a bit weird about that, but I feel like this is a cycle that if you're having things that are not affordable for certain people, they will most likely go into sites and share or peer to peer, because it's like I said, with movies or music, when it got too expensive, people started rebelling and the piracy of these things rose. I would really hate for artists to suffer if these things are shared and they only lose money, because everybody loses money if there is piracy. Of course, we know that. So it's something to think about, like when you're getting into art, or if you're an artist listening to this, if you're a brush maker, price your brushes in a way that it doesn't push your customer to leave you and possibly find alternative ways to buy. Like August Rowe, I really like her. And I remember finding her brushes at $2 or $3. Her brushes are actually a little more expensive, but there are sites that give you the same brushes for cheaper, and it's the same thing, and you can't shut them down. Like Frank and Toon, like I get their mystery. So they have this every Friday they give you free some, like two brush sets free, or some elements free. Very cool stuff. And below the email, they've shared that they have a fake, someone has been faking their account and selling their brushes on Etsy. And I checked that out and I was shocked. The level of people with no integrity in this world who'd actually blatantly go and steal work is so sad. In that scheme, I think that companies like Design Cuts and Creative Market and really good and talented artists should take note and be follow the trends of movies and music, and know that if they start overcharging people, um, you're going to only cut your own stomach. You're going to lose loyal customers who support you. It really wasn't about how good a person's product is. It was primarily about wanting to support them. For me, I like Calvin, I like his generosity. So it doesn't pinch me that much to support his art or support him, because I am a fan of what he's taught me. So that's my way of supporting him, right, as an artist. But if Calvin starts saying, oh, you have to rebuy things, or this is not this plan, you have to do this. When you get these in app purchases, subscription module kind of things, it just makes people, at least it made me feel really annoyed. Unfortunately, Artifacts has lost me as a customer, but that's okay. He's got lots of customers ahead of him, and I'm pretty sure I'm nobody in this big scheme of things. But I do want to tell you guys to be wise about what you buy and who you associate with. I think Design Cuts is becoming a little bit like Apple, or a little bit like a giant when it comes to creators and their resources. While we love getting value from these kind of places, we have to be conscious of whether we are being taken for granted, or whether our money is being depleted, and whether this is fair or whether it's not. So be wise when it comes to your art. Be wise about the brushes you buy. Buy it from the artist, support the artist, and yeah, that's about it. I hope this rant doesn't offend people. I really want to share. I mean, this is not a pretty picture. I'm not painting pretty picture. I'm not painting a pretty picture because I think it's important to talk about a few of the negatives. That it's not all free. You have to shell out stuff. It is an investment. You're not just investing in an iPad or like a tab and a pen, but you're also investing in paper or brushes or palettes. I do not think people should buy palettes. I think you should just create your own palettes. Even if you have the skill of brushes, invest in that, learning how to make good brushes so you can tweak your brushes according to what you made. Like in my Skillshare class, I made a whole set of brushes because I couldn't I couldn't, the brushes that I used to make birds, I couldn't I wanted to ask them permission to use their brushes, but then I was like, no, like why am I cutting their products? So I linked their brushes in my class, and I also made a set of brushes that would help my students understand it, and I give that brush for free with my class. So that's a nice way. Like I appreciate Jennifer Nichols and Brenda Backer and a lot of the Skillshare artists who are so even oh my gosh, I forgot her name. She's so good. Liz is Kohler Brown. She's fantastic. They're very generous with their brushes. Um, there are a lot of other artists like for example, Tila has a lot of conditions when you use her brushes. You can't use it here, you can't use it here, you have to buy a commercial license. If you're going to use someone's brush commercially, then you should get a license. I bought, when I was doing my bird journal, I bought commercial licenses for all the brushes that I used because I didn't want to risk anything. I didn't want to get into trouble. And I was really happy I did because I really, like, I nichoroed all those brushes, like Tila's brush and Freya's gouache brush. So I would say be wise, be careful, and be don't blindly go into just buy any brush set. Be wise about it, and also there's so many resources on the internet and Skillshare and Domestika and Udemy, and so enroll in those, learn from them, but don't be fooled by people who just want to earn money from and earn a profit from your desire to learn. This was a different kind of podcast. It's like I said, it was video, and I've got like my little mic here, which I'm talking. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you're blessed by this, and I hope it really gives you an insight of another perspective of the art world. Be wise, be kind. I hope I was kind, and I don't mean to troll anybody. I feel like it's important to address it for the fans, for the people who create art, who may not have a lot of money. Like, I'm not super rich, I'm not like famous artist. I'm growing, I'm learning, and I hope it helps you. So thanks for joining me, and I will catch you in the next video.